Have you ever felt that you're losing yourself in your intimate relationship? You're the one who's constantly giving in? Let's face it, ladies. Relationships, especially intimate ones, are a big source of chronic stress to many, many women. And I believe this is because many of us do not have our boundaries in place that help manage our relationships. And if we do, many of us tend to ignore them. So at the end of the day, what we're doing is we're just going along with the flow of the relationship. And this is how we end up in toxic relationships, because we are not reinforcing boundaries or because we do not have the boundaries. And so the relationship gets extremely toxic. So today our focus is on boundaries in all our relationships, but especially in our intimate relationships. So before we carry on, let's find out what is this thing called boundaries and why do we need them in our relationships. First and foremost and most important, boundaries are about telling people how you want them to treat you. You decide what is acceptable in the way people treat you and what is not acceptable. You draw those lines. Now, the thing is, you also have to know when these boundaries have been crossed. And that's when you actually put your hands up and you say, hey, that is a boundary. It is not acceptable. So let us, find out, how do you know when your boundaries have been crossed? If you're the kind of person who's constantly saying yes to anyone and everyone who asks you of something or to do something, your answer is always yes. The thing is, you actually want to say no, but you are afraid of disappointing people, you're afraid of creating conflict, and you are afraid that you might not be liked. And what about when your partner is disrespecting you by controlling you? They're telling you where to go, what to do, what to wear, who to be friends with, or they're constantly criticizing your friends. Basically, they're telling you how you should be living your life. It doesn't matter what you think or what you do. Just do as they tell you. This is a huge sign that actually your boundaries are being stepped all over. If you have boundaries, they really don't care. But you're going to do what I ask you and tell you to do. Understanding these red flags to lack of boundaries is a huge step that should push you into becoming determined to actually put in boundaries that are going to respect you. Now that you are aware that you do not have boundaries in place and you understand what boundaries are, let's move on to see how do we put those boundaries into place. So how do we set these relationship boundaries, not just in your intimate relationships, but you know something? You need these all round in all your relationships. Know what it is that you want, how you want to be treated by people, especially your intimate partner. Communicate your boundaries clearly and assertively, not aggressively, because you too have to respect their boundaries. Number 3, consistency is key. Once you have set that boundary or those boundaries, it's so crucial for you to maintain that boundary or those boundaries. Consistency. People have to get used to you saying, hey, that's not on. And number 4, practice self-reflection. Just because you've put in a boundary, is it meeting your needs? Is it doing what it is meant to do? And as we are, forever evolving, and as new situations come into your life, you may need to bring in more new boundaries or adapt some of the other boundaries. The thing is, you've got to make sure that these boundaries are working for you. And number 5, just as you want your boundaries to be respected, you too respect other people's boundaries. If it's a no, it's a no. I use the word no because a lot of us do not like to hear the word no. That is actually a boundary. So just be aware that if that's what you want people to do for you, to treat you with that kind of respect, you too have got to respect others' boundaries. One of the biggest things I have seen within my own clinical practice is women who suffer from toxic relationships. And most of the time it's because boundaries are not in place. You've got to have those boundaries in place if you want to be treated with respect and to be in happier relationships, whether it's work, whether it's family, whether it's intimate relationships, just all round. Have boundaries that you reinforce, firm boundaries for safety and well-being, especially in those relationships that are toxic and abusive. They keep you safe. You have got something to protect yourself with. And when they cross it is when you say no. And again, this is all round. So it's for our own safety and well-being. Do not let love put your boundaries down. What happens if they cross the boundary and you've told them over and over again? It's very clear there is a problem. Okay? So you can see how boundaries actually work to protect you, because they do flag up the issues that we have in our relationships and the need for you to do something when you are being disrespected, because you know you're being disrespected, because your boundaries have been broken, right? Boundaries also prevent manipulation. Sometimes our partners may use these tactics to actually overstep our boundaries. And that is when you actually have to be firm in reinforcing these boundaries. I hope you really understand the importance of having boundaries in your relationships, especially your intimate relationships. Setting boundaries is not just about self-protection. It's actually about reclaiming your power and your voice. It is within the boundaries that you can do that and let people hear you, how you respect yourself and how you want to be treated. So ladies, I say, hey, reclaim your power, reclaim your voice. Let people know how you want them to treat you. Okay? Set those boundaries in place. And you know something? You will notice a big difference in the way people treat you. And you won't be burnt out. You'll get less abuse as well in your relationships. And you'll get into less toxic relationships. Put those boundaries in there. Reclaim your voice. Reclaim your power. I know you can do it. So go ahead, do it. I dare you. Put those boundaries in.